I went here to high school and boarded here in high school, and then after I graduated, well, I guess first I should say that the senior year was kind of rough. There were some things that just didn't sit well with me. So, and I wasn't the only. It was a group of us. But and so to be honest with you, I really didn't. I thought about it in high school, but then after I graduated, I didn't feel like I was good enough. And so, but yet I loved the farm, so that was fine for me to go back to the farm. But I spent many hours just sometimes just roaming the hills that were, I mean, not the hills, the forests and the trees that were around our farmyard. Just praying and just asking God, you know, what do you want me to do? And so it was 4 years after I graduated when I had a sister that was a Notre Dame sister that was in our parish. And she kind of, I guess she was observing me because we had services in the Sunday evenings, Mother Perpetual Help services. And one day, her name was Sister Jean, she came to me and after service, and she said, told me, she said, come over to the convent, you know, and it was in the school. And she said, she wanted something, she said, so I went and I told Mom, I'll be back, you know. So all that Sister Jean wanted me for was to ask me, what is keeping you from entering the convent? And I was just floored. I mean, I thought that was God speaking to me, because it was somebody, she was a Notre Dame sister, that thought that I was worthy or that I was a good candidate or whatever. I don't know what she thought, but that's what just started me thinking that. And so that's what I started doing. Then my father wasn't real happy with that because he knew I didn't want to go to college. I didn't want to teach. I said, I don't want, and my dad said, they'll make you teach, you know. And I said, no, I already talked to Sister Loyola. She was the superior. And she said, they won't make me teach. So, you know, my mother started making the clothes, the things that I had to have, aprons and stuff, because if I was going to end up being in housekeeping, you know. And so I did that for, through the novitiate, we all of us had to do stuff like doing dishes and stuff like that. And then so I cooked for the sisters. I was a housekeeper and a cook. In some places I served as a sacristan, you know, for the parish. And sometimes I substituted in the classroom, or I watched the kids while this teacher was gone or for whatever reason. And I did that for 6 years. And then I was, my ministry was out to South Dakota, the Porcupine, the Our Lady of Lourdes Mission. And I spent over 6 years, almost 7 years there. And what I did there was what they had called was a sale room, where people would give donations, you know, there to the missions. And my job was to sort out all that stuff and sell it as the people would come down to the sale room. And I learned, I think, from the people there, as poor as they were so grateful for the smallest thing you did for them, or just being happy. They taught me a lot at that time. And then, but it was, like I said, it was heavy work, and so the provincial superior here, who happened to be my aunt. Anyway, she asked me. She said that she think I should come back to Notre Dame. my father had just died before that, and that was really hard for me. So, and I think she thought that I was getting worn down. But she knew that I loved little children, and but the Notre Dame sisters, we never had like a daycare or preschool like that. So she said if I wanted to get to that I should take some classes.
Oh my gosh.
Until the last place I worked was at St. Richard's, and when St. Richard's closed, I said, this is enough. So that was my end of my childhood there. And then I was still at St. Richard's when our provincial team asked me if I would be this minister to the sisters that are at the Emmanuel Fontenelle and Courtyard. And I thought, oh, I've never worked with the elderly. And I said, I've been working with children, preschool up through eighth grade, all this time, and now go working with the elderly? I said, well, I have to think about that, and I have to pray about it. So I talked to the group of sisters that I lived with, and they said, well, do what you think you can do, So I thought, well, I got to pray about it and ask God about it. So I went to bed that night and I told God, I said, okay, God, if I'm supposed to take this job, or I should call it a ministry, I guess, I need to be I want a dream, and it has to be very specific. None of this, symbols, because I don't work too good with just symbols. So I said, I want the sisters who are in either one of those buildings, and at that time we had probably 7 or 8 sisters there. I want one of them to be in my dream. So I went to bed, and I fell asleep, and then when I got in the morning, I thought, oh my God, you really were attentive to my plea, because when I woke up, I realized that here I saw this sister. She had a long black skirt. Sister Lucille, I don't know if you know Sister Lucille. She was working here in the
Right,
kitchen.
Yes.
Okay. She was the one that was in my dream. She had the long black skirt, a white blouse, and the veil on, black veil. There was no question about what I was supposed to do. And when I was in the morning, then I said, Sister Celeste was the superior at that time, and she said, I said to her, I need to talk to you and Rita Marie. And so she thought, well, I just would have some questions about it. And so when I came to her office, and I said, well, I would take the job, and they were just stunned that I made that decision so fast. So I told them my dream, and Celeste said, what can I say? You have the job. Yeah. My dad was not a writer. That's exactly what I am, not a writer. So he never did write, I shouldn't say he never did. We never got a card from him for a long time. My mother would write, would write to us. But Dad, she tells about Dad, but Dad would never do the writing. But he did, at one time, he did write. And I still have that letter that my father did write, that one letter. And he was so proud of us. Yeah. When Anita left, I don't think I shouldn't say this, but Anita was such a bookworm. She was always in a book, and I was out there working with them out in the field, and she did too. I mean, when in harvest time and that, she did. I mean, she did her share of work. If I complained about her, my mother would say, "Oh, because she'd be also playing the piano." Mom would say, "Oh, I like to hear her play the piano." But she did her job faster than I did my job, so I thought she should help me. Well, I was kind of excited because I had never been out there. I've never been there, but I knew that from the sisters, they would talk about Porcupine, because a lot of the sisters had been there. And I went. I think I was probably glad that I didn't have to cook it for the sisters anymore, because at that time Sister Elaine was there, and she cooked for the school lunch and that. And I worked in the what they call the sale room. I never realized how much they appreciated what I did until I was leaving there. Yeah, and this one lady said, you don't know how many times I came down here just to talk to you when she was having some kind of difficulty with her husband or her family. You know, and I said, no, I never did. I just thought she's coming down to look for something to buy, something for her family. Yeah. So I learned there too, is like you never know what little thing you can do or say that helps somebody else. You know, there's changes all the time. You know, there's always something, and we don't know what God's plan for us until it kind of happens. Like I said, I have a lot of stories. I had another little boy in a school. He was about 4 years old, because he used to go to that school. Where it was in a school, the daycare. There was a special class for the early childhood education. I was just daycare. But anyway, there was a little boy that I had known his grandmother before, and his older sisters were in, or maybe they were his aunts, I'm not sure, were in the daycare before. So this little boy, he would come and go, you know, and then he started just crying and not wanting to come to daycare and come to school anymore. And I said, you know, there's something's going on in the family. It's nothing here, because he's been fine all this time. And but he just like, and the teacher that was in that with the preschool there, she didn't know what to do with him anymore. And so the principal said, oh, you know, he's going to have to go somewhere else, because we can't he's not being satisfied here, or, you know, can't handle him here. And I said to myself, I said, there's something wrong with that decision. But there's something is going on. So I took care of him like I said, put him under my wing. And he would come in the morning, and I said, oh, okay. I said, you're gonna be my helper today. Just come and just stay by me, stay with me. And it took probably about 2 weeks. And one day, but then he would always go into the preschool room, you know. But then he'd come back to the daycare and wait till his grandmother would come and pick him up. And then one day I was walking down the hallway, and when all the preschool kids were lined up along the hallway waiting to go to the bathroom, and I said to him, "Hi Xavier, how are you today?" And the teacher said, "He's doing great, thanks to Sister Karen." I said, I can truly say that I've never felt like I should not have come, that I should go, should leave. I've never had that thought or that feeling. That, yeah. You know, I didn't always like some things, you know, but you just always say, well, I don't like something, somebody doesn't like something, I do either. Nobody's perfect. But I do spend time, and like when I go down to eat, and or just even with the residents, visiting with the residents, and you know, just conversation sometimes, and I like to, you know, if there's somebody new that comes in, you know, I like to just talk to them or, welcome them and just things like that. And I used to help out at the reception desk, but we got a new receptionist and kind of changed the hours. They switched, and so they said, "Well, you don't need to do that anymore." So I said, "Oh, okay." So I used to do that. Whereas there were sisters, and we're close, but we're very different in some things. When she comes in from from her work, that she puts everything where it belongs. I could move it. I either throw it in my bed or throw it in the chair. So when we moved in here, she was still working in O'Neill. So I had 5 months to myself. So this part of the counter here, I had my stuff on that stuff that when Well, I don't know how long she was here, but I came home one time and that part was cleared off. So I got here. She didn't say anything. She doesn't say a lot. Sometimes she'll just say, "You left that over there," or be looking for something. She said, "Well, you left it over there," But she's more the book type, and she's more organized, and more more structured. Yeah. And she was really a very good teacher, and I think it's because she had those qualities, and that's what that's her, and that's what I always say to myself is, that is her, and this is me, and I have to be who I am. Yeah. But I don't know. When it comes down to be fixing something, I was thinking that when I was watching you with that screwdriver. That I would be the one that would be doing that kind of stuff. We get along fine. I do most of the grocery shopping, but she's a much better cook. But and she's more. I'd probably say thrifty or something than I am. So I'll go and I'll say, buy something, and then she'll say, "Well, we have some of that." I said, "Well, yeah, but it was on sale." So I said, "So that's." Yeah, she won't waste a thing, So she's, but I'm not wasteful either. That's the way we were brought up. So so we have some things that we're very much alike. Yeah, well, like I said, my father loved sports. In fact, I have a picture when he was a young boy. The whole school, and all the little boys, they were like probably about 8 years old, are sitting there holding a bat or a glove in their hand, and one of them was my dad, and so like I said, I just grew up there. We would, when I was home, when we got a TV, well, we would watch sports. We would watch that together, or when we had neighbors that were real close to us, and right across the road. And one year we were having, Dad was bringing in the grain from the field, and he had me run over to the neighbors because they had a TV to see. It was in the baseball time. He was picking corn. And at that time he had the machine that he could pick it, so I didn't have to go out there and husk it myself, help him with it. And so he had me go over there to see what the score was, because we didn't have a TV. So I'd run back and forth, and when I could hear him coming, I'd run over to the neighbors to find out what the score was, and then I ran back. That's just the way we were. Praying, like all the violence and all that, the death penalty, abortion, human trafficking, that. So when there's chances of going to sometimes there's prayer walks, or there's prayer, different places we have, times for prayer. So I take part in that. It scares me because I always think of think of the little children. What are they going to have? Or when is this going to happen? When are we going to understand that violence doesn't help anybody? You know, and until we just can somehow get along with one another, we don't have to agree. We can, you know, we all have our own thoughts and that, but we could surely find some way to do it without harming people, you know. No, I always say is God is still in control. That's always like everything. And we can't give up hope. I say that a lot of times sometimes we're having to get in a conversation, and some of the ladies said, "Oh, it's hopeless," you know. And I says, you know, we can't give up hope, and we have to believe that God is in control, and so what we have to do is to do what we know is right, you know, and we have to do the good things, because then if you do something good, then somebody else will be, and that kind of mushrooms, they have different words for it, but be kind and be helpful and greet them, you know their name, learn their name. That's a big thing. I learned that years ago when I was a lady walking down the hallway. She was coming toward the chapel, and I was going the other direction, and she was new, and I said to her, I said, "Oh," I said, "I know you're a resident here." I said, "What is your name?" "I'm Sister Karen." And she said, "Oh, you won't remember it." She said, "Nobody remembers my name." And I, well, right in my head said, "Don't forget her name." So I said, "Well, what?" I said, "Try me." And she said, "My name is Dorothy." Well, Anita's baptismal name is Dorothy. So I said, "Oh, I won't forget that." I said, "I have a sister Dorothy." And so I made a point to, every time I saw her, I greeted her and used her name. Like Sister Margaret or Sister Mary Ann, or some of the other sisters too. It's like they can give a better sermon than some of these priests give. Yeah, and I've written in the sometimes like the Public Pulse, or like the National Reporter, or that. I don't think the Register would ever put anything like that. But saying that the sisters, that we have some sisters here that they can give better homilies and can serve the people better than some of the priests. I've seen that in just like the National Reporter, They just said that Jesus was a man. Well, Jesus was human. We're humans. And because that was when I was at home, I'd have dates, but I'd just sometimes get home and I thought, oh, it's like, there was just, there was something missing, and I knew that there was something missing, but I couldn't figure it out. But I guess all those walkings in the grove around our farmyard was God's way of calling me to where I was supposed to be. It just took me a while to find it out. Yeah. Like I said, I have no regrets. I can honestly say that I never did feel like that I would wanted to leave or have a vocation crisis.